You can make billions of units per hour in No Man's Sky with very little setup. The World's Part 2 update introduced the Nutrient Ingestor, and with it, the best money-making method in No Man's Sky to date, utilising the fauna analysis reward stat on multi-tool scanner upgrades. You can do this extremely casually and still get more than 1 billion per hour while you explore, or go full throttle for multi-billions an hour. There are a lot of things you can do to upgrade the efficiency massively, but even if you don't do them, you'll still be rolling in that cash. The way this works is that the Nutrient Ingestor exosuit technology allows you to put food items into it, and through consuming them in the ingester gain a buff of some kind. There are many different buffs you can get from this, though today we'll be focusing on the fauna analysis rewards. Using a food that gives this buff in the ingester will multiply the existing fauna analysis reward stats your scanner upgrades have, giving you far more units per fauna scanned. With that in mind, we need to obtain some of these food items, build a Nutrient Ingestor and get some scanner upgrades with high fauna analysis reward stats, and then a few other ways to increase efficiency. There are 62 different foods that give you the fauna analysis rewards buff when used in the Nutrient Ingestor, and every one of them gives a different strength of that buff. 40 of them are legendary fish. The issue with the fish is that not only is the buff given by the legendary fish far weaker than the other 22 options, by 2 to 3 times, but they also last about a third as long. On top of that, the legendary fish will be much more time and resource intensive to obtain, so we'll ignore the fish option. The other 22 are cakes and pastries that you can make with the nutrient processor. These cakes and pastries all have buffs between 6047% and 6532%. They all also last for 10 minutes per one. I know all this because of course I tested every single option. On top of the strength of the buff, another thing needs to be considered here, and that is your access to the ingredients required to craft them. Nectar Islands are the ones that give the maximum buff of 6532%, however one of the ingredients isn't the most common thing to come across. This is syrupy nectar. This item is obtained by feeding the newer Floridae genus fauna, those alien half plant half animal fauna. If you feed them, you can then interact with them to get some syrupy nectar. The other item needed for these that can't be easily farmed are eggs. These can be either creature eggs, tall eggs, or giant eggs. Creature eggs come from triceratops looking fauna, tall eggs come from strider fauna, striders being extremely common in purple systems now, and giant eggs come from diplos. Provided you have found a Floridae type fauna and can go back to it, this is an easy recipe to make. However, you don't absolutely need the best. So I've gone through every food that gives the buff, constructed a spreadsheet with the 4 recipes and found the 4 best recipes of the 22, taking into account the strength of the buff and the ease of obtaining the ingredients. These are anomalous donuts. The only non-farmable ingredients in this recipe are any milk, of which you'll need 2, and 1 hexaberry. Extra fluffy cream cake, you'll need 2 eggs for this, which can be creature, tall or giant, though you could also go half and half with larval core, and then 1 of the other 3. You'll also want 1 fresh or wild milk. Nectar Islands are the same as extra fluffy cream cake, except instead of milk you'll need syrupy nectar. The last is ambrosial curse, which is a good backup for Nectar Islands, if you could find the Floridae, fauna but not creature, tall or giant eggs, as this can be made with only larval cores, which are extremely easy to find, though a bit dangerous, via abandoned buildings. Getting your ingredients to cook and your resources to make the Nutrient Ingestor can be done at the same time. Though before looking for them you'll want to make sure you have the hazmat gauntlets installed in your exosuit. The hazmat gauntlets technology blueprint is given somewhat early on in the expand your base missions, though if you haven't done that yet and want a quicker way, just buy the blueprint from the anomaly via Selene for a few nanites. To start your search, either go to a system you have already been to, or warp to a new yellow system with a good 4 to 6 planets. You are looking for 1 to 4 different planet types. The first is a barren planet. This is a planet that when scanned from space will say it has the resources cactus flesh and pyrite. Every recipe requires cactus flesh, as this is about the easiest way to get sugar. Also look for frozen worlds, as every recipe also needs frost crystal. These will show frost crystal and darksite when scanning from space. The third plant type is anomalous, as these will have hexaberry. Hexaberry is a type of wild plant like heptaloid wheat, pulpy roots, graberry, etc. Hexaberry is only found on anomalous worlds and will give about 3 to 8 per plant. Anomalous worlds are also known as having exotic or mega exotic biomes. From space the biome name will be like these on screen, and these are only the exotic, not other types, as it's just a bit too many to list. Once on the planet, find the hexaberry using your analysis visor to look for the wheat icon. Hovering over will tell you whether it's hexaberry or something else. You may think it's a bit time consuming to grab ingredients in this way, but as each one is enough for making a donut that will last 10 minutes, you really don't need many. Lastly, for the plant types is only if you haven't yet built a nutrient ingester, as you'll need a lubricant to build it, and lubricant is made with 400 gamma root and 50 faecium. We'll get the faecium from feeding the fauna to get other ingredients, but the gamma root is obtained from radioactive worlds that will show gamma root and uranium in the space scan tooltip. Now, I said 1 to 4 different planet types because echinocactus, frostwort and gamma weed plants are all farmable, so you may have these crops already. Also, for looking for the echinocactus, frostwort or gamma weed, you'll find them in the wild in patches that are somewhat easy to spot when flying slowly over the planet or moon's surface. When you spot the one the planet holds, just land and grab the whole patch. That will be more than you'll ever need for this particular project. Well, unless it's gamma weed and you got unlucky with the patch giving you less than 400. You may need to find a second. Before leaving any of those planets other than the anomalous one, you should also check the local fauna. Feed them with creature pellets so you can get their animal byproducts, and don't forget to pick up some of the poop. 100 faecium will be more than enough. For the fauna materials, you'll want to grab anything on this list to give you the most options for cooking. Cow-like creatures will give fresh milk. Antelope or rodent-like creatures will give wild milk. Proto-gek-looking creatures will give proto-milk. Large butterflies, flying beetles and proto-rollers will give craw milk. And bone cats or proto-rollers will give bone nuggets which can be cooked into bone milk. For eggs, triceratops-like creatures give creature eggs. Striders like these, whether luminescent or not, will give tall eggs. And diplos will give giant eggs. Lastly, looking for these plant/animal fauna will get you syrupy nectar. Definitely grab this if you see it, as syrupy nectar is used in the top 2 recipes for their strength of the buff we're after. Also note that while proto-milk can be used in making anomalous donuts, you can't use more than half proto-milk. This is because when processing the milk into clarified oil, if you only have proto-milk to make the cream and then butter, it will make proto-oil. However, if only one of the butters to make the oil is proto-butter, it will instead make clarified oil, which is what we want. If you found syrupy nectar but not eggs, you could buy a few of the red swirly planetary charts from the cartographers to find distress signals and use them to find abandoned buildings. Then head over and pick up some larval cores. I like to mine one, pick it up, and then continuously sprint around the building, shooting and grabbing as I go. This generally makes it difficult for the xenomorphs that swarm to actually attack you. Though beware if you're a new save on permadeath, as if they do hit you, it'll pack a punch. Once you've been to the plants you need, you hopefully have one of these combinations with at least 10 to 20 of the desired items. Hexaberry and milk, eggs and fresh or wild milk, eggs and syrupy nectar, larval core and syrupy nectar. Now we just have to sort our technology out. The first thing to sort out would be the Nutrient Ingester if you haven't already got it. In the previous section we grabbed 400 gamma root, and if you forgot to pick up the faecium, there are many ways to obtain it. An easy way if you have a refiner with 2 or 3 inputs is to combine carbon and dihydrogen to make faecium. This will make you lubricant, though if you don't have the recipe from doing the base missions you can just buy it from the synthesis laboratory in the back of the anomaly. You'll also want to buy the blueprint for the Nutrient Ingester from Celine, as this can only be obtained from her. Craft the lube and install the ingester. Now we just need some scanner upgrades. You have 2 options for this really. You can go with S-Class or X-Class. I would honestly recommend S-Class unless you really want to min-max and have some good patience. S-Class scanner upgrades will give you 3 to 4 of the 4 available bonuses, so there's a small chance you won't get a fauna bonus when using one. If you get the bonus, it will be between 6,500 and 10,000. X-Class will give you 1 to 4 of the 4 stats, and if you are lucky enough to get a fauna stat, it will be between 1,000 and 10,999. Basically, the S-Class is a very quick way to get a solid bonus with little effort, and while the X-Class has the potential to give you the ultimate bonus, it is less likely and will take exponentially longer to achieve. As with all upgrades, you can have 3 scanner upgrades of any class. If you want to go the legit way, where you buy a whole bunch of upgrades and just keep replacing the older ones when you get a better one, I really would just go the S-Class for sanity reasons. However, if you don't mind bending the rules a bit, there is a way to spend less to get what you want without duping or anything. You'll only need to buy the 3 S-Class upgrades, but can keep rolling them until you get the stats you want. This will take some effort though, and it can get tedious if attempting with X-Class. Stat rolling is an exploitive technique that allows you to essentially keep rolling the random seed that determines the stats a procedural upgrade will have. The seed that determines an upgrade stat is the same regardless of the upgrade you are using. If you make a save, then apply an upgrade, then reload the save and apply it again, the stat will be the same both times. Essentially, by making a save, then using the modules, you can see what they will be. Load the restore point you just made, and then either advance the seed by packaging and reinstalling a technology, or using the upgrade again if that particular role was a good one. I go into much greater detail with examples in this recent video, which I recommend if you are interested in stat rolling. Now that you have the basic setup, which is to say a Nutrient Ingester, one of the 22 foods that heavily boosts fauna analysis rewards, and 3 scanning upgrades in your multi-tool that hold a decently high fauna analysis reward stat, you just need to land on a planet. Pretty much any planet will have fauna unless it has no atmosphere. Whack one or more of those foods in your Nutrient Ingester, turn it on and start scanning the fauna. Each scan will be somewhere between 10, 20 or 30 million. These numbers waver a fair bit depending on your setup. You may have noticed before all this, but fauna have 3 different values when scanning, kind of a common, uncommon and rare. You see these words used in the discovery menu for the fauna, but the rarity noted there is not one that influences their scan value. It may say rare in the discovery menu, but upon scanning it will give the unit reward for an uncommon. So just scan everything you see, don't spend too long looking for that last one and wasting your food buff, then move on to the next planet. Or of course, take it super chill, whack a single food on when arriving at a new planet, scan everything you see, and get a quick unit boost before exploring more of the planet at your own pace. There are, however, many ways to increase your efficiency as well as just tips for related challenges. Your multi-tool scan bonus does not affect the fauna analysis reward stat like you may assume. From that perspective, you can do this with a C class, and you really can. You can still get billions an hour using a C class multi-tool. But you will absolutely get more per hour if you utilize supercharged slots. The fauna analysis reward stat is a percentage, but it acts like an additive when it comes to calculation. Basically, it doesn't compound. Instead, the percentage stat on each module is multiplied by the base stat and then all added together. But 25% of a 10,000% bonus is still 2,500% extra, and with the ingester bonus multiplying all this, it is substantial. Your optimum setup is 3 supercharged slots in an L shape. You put your 3 scanner upgrades in these and then complete the cube with the polyphonic core or the scan harmonizer for the adjacency bonus. Then put your scanner so it is touching the upgrade with the highest fauna analysis reward stat for an extra lesser adjacency bonus. If you don't have a multi-tool with a cube or L shape of supercharged slots, you can achieve almost as good with any A or S class multi-tool, as a majority of the bonuses here are from the supercharged slots, so by just placing the 3 upgrades in them, whether they touch each other or not, is still providing up to an extra 8,249%, which is basically like having a 4th upgrade. Around a month ago, Junt and Lavlamp had their 104th multi-tool race where they raced each other to find the S-Class cabinet for an interesting multi-tool model. Junt won with this perfect layout for what we want in a multi-tool devoted to scanning. I'll link his video in the description so you can go and get it if you like. You may think your Starship has nothing to do with this. We're talking about scanning to get units. Well, that time you spend pulsing between planets is valuable, and the difference between a default bare-bones shuttle and the best you can make is huge. First of all is the ship itself. If you want the fastest ship in pulse, you want an interceptor, also known as a sentinel ship. This is because interceptors have their own pulse engine technology, which happens to have a more powerful base stat for pulse drive power. Pulse drive power is a stat that dictates the speed you travel in pulse. As well as getting an interceptor, you can build the sublight amplified technology, which boosts pulse drive power. If you want to min-max specifically pulse speed to get to the next planet as quickly as possible to continue scanning, you'll want at least the B-class interceptor, and so one with 2 supercharged slots. Put the pulse engine, or as it's called in an interceptor, the luminance engine, in one of the supercharged slots. Put the sublight amplifier in the other. Now put 3 pulse engine upgrades of any class so that they are touching 3 sides of the sublight amplifier. Now build either the instability drive or the flight assist override and have that touch the 4th side of the sublight amplifier. While there are ways to improve the other pulse engine stats, this setup will specifically increase the pulse drive power to the maximum it can be, which is 259% faster than having a basic pulse engine in a basic ship. That's a lot of time saved. If you wish to go the more casual route or even just add a little extra challenge, you may wish to scan every fauna a planet has to offer before moving on to the next. This will often lower your hourly unit rate. But it's not all about units, and you just don't need to max out your units in a single gaming session. There are 4 general types of fauna: flying, ground, underground, and underwater. Flying and ground are the easiest. They will generally spawn very quickly without you having to move much. Underwater can be easy too. The only thing to note is that you have to actually transition into the water for them to spawn. So land by a large body of water, jump in, and give it a sec. Though sometimes you may have to swim about a little to get one to spawn. The bane of all fauna hunters are the underground fauna. That is because these spawn in caves. One of the easiest ways to get an underground fauna to spawn is to fly low over a planet, scanning for points of interest. These points of interest will generally spawn a flat circular area for them to generate on. This will often cut into cave systems, leaving an open cave area that is very conducive to underground fauna spawning. So when you fly to a marker and see the open cave entrance, that's a good place to land if you are trying to spawn them. If they don't spawn a little after landing, you can also run into the cave, run for a little bit, then run back. This can work well to trigger them also. Let's also not forget that on top of those 4 types, fauna can be spawn restricted based on the time of the day or the north and south of a planet. For time of day, diurnal means only in the daylight, nocturnal is of course at night, but most fauna will be always active. Fauna being restricted to north and south is less common, but you will see it every now and then. It's good to check for these after scanning what you see after landing, so you don't waste time trying to find something that can't spawn there or at the moment. The great thing about scanning every fauna on a planet is that once you do, you can click the Complete Fauna Scan button in the Discovery menu for a nanite reward. This reward will be 250 multiplied by the amount of fauna scanned, but you only get that reward if you get every last one. For my testing for this video, I did this method with a very unoptimized ship and multi-tool. I hunted casually for 2 hours, scanning every fauna on a planet except for one, which after 10 minutes of eluding me, I gave up on. I cleared 3 systems total and earned 3 billion units. With optimization and a clear focus, you can likely hit the unit cap in less than 2 hours, allowing you to upgrade slots in as many ships and multi-tools as you like, among other things. Here are those 2 videos I mentioned, Stat Rolling and Junt's Fantastic Find. Peace.